Hi, good evening. This is video 871. I find sometimes, well, not that I rehearse the videos, but I kind of in my head say, well, this is what I'm going to talk about, and kind of have done that a little bit, but I happened to watch a video today that was, and I'm going to put a link to it in the below, um, but it was a Disneyland video of Pirates of the Caribbean, and pardon me once again, I am still fighting this COVID um, post-nasal drip. And I'm trying to do something about it. I started taking Mucinex, and I see my doctor on Tuesday, about 4 days from now. And I'm going to say, hey, what can we do? Because it's really beginning to impact my mental health during the day. I mean, my physical health is one thing, but today I was talking to somebody like I'm kind of talking to you, and my voice dropped, and it was extremely embarrassing, because there's um, there's just so much phlegm, there's so much stuff to make my voice resonate. It really have to, I guess, if I slow down like I should and enunciate all of my words, then I will sound better, but I sound a little more like a robot or something. Anyway, so please bear with. I've also noticed there's a bit of an issue with my microphone or my computer, I don't know which. If I speak in my lower tone voice, microphone picks everything up just fine. When I speak in my voice here, excuse me, I gotta itch my ear, I notice that kind of cuts out. And so I don't know, maybe if it's something to do that I just need to invest in a real microphone. And you can definitely, I know, tailor that to a certain range, as well as types of, unidirectional, omnidirectional, blah, blah, blah. So, back to the start. Disneyland. And it was a video of Pirates of the Caribbean, 1967, in California, Disneyland. And the first thing that struck out to me as I watched the video, I didn't quite get the first start of it because the Disneyland version is different than what I was used to in Walt Disney World in Florida. It's a little different layout. But I noticed the people. The men in the video are wearing business suits, okay? They're on vacation, and the last time I went to Disney World was probably 20, 25 years ago, if that. And, you didn't wear a business suit when you went to Disney World. But the women are all dressed up, and they have hats. You know what I mean? Like different cultural norms at the time. Um, and I think out of the whole 20-minute video, maybe one or two people of color. All the people in it were white, you know. And I guess I'm aware of that now. I look for diversity and inclusion and things. So, maybe just a little bit of, I don't know. I'm not really trying to make a point with it, but I just noticed that it really wasn't diverse. Really was not a lot of diversity. 1967 America at Walt Disney World. But what I want to talk about is a story that I haven't told anybody. Nobody actually, ever. And, like I mentioned, I grew up in Florida, and my school, every year there was a trip. The 6th grade trip to Walt Disney World, the 7th grade trip to Walt Disney World, the 8th grade trip to Walt Disney World. Every year It seemed like, and I think even in well, maybe fifth grade, or we went to Disney World. It was just kind of the thing to do. And then I had my best friend in the world, Ken. Um, he and I would go periodically with his mom, and she would, she would do something with his older sister. And my friend and I, we were kind of given, again, it was back in the 70s, it was before Adam Walsh. And so literally it was the kind of thing like, go have fun and play. And, I'll meet you here in 2 hours. You know what I mean? Obviously, no phones, no beepers, no nothing. Okay. Totally, totally different world. So, anyway, so the story is I don't remember how old I was. Um, and I think it was a trip with my friend Ken. It was not a school trip. Um, but it was me and him. And, um, obviously, I think this may have been like seventh grade, let's say. It was seventh grade in school. And we were in, not the Wild West, Frontierland, I think is the cowboy, you know, stereotypical, the wild, wild west. And I noticed that they had pioneer bonnets. Okay. And so, well, my friend, we did the Pirates of the Caribbean. You get the pirate hat and the sword and whatnot. Here I am buying women's clothes, okay, or little girls' clothes, maybe. I don't know, girls' clothes. But I bought a bonnet, okay? And so, little me, prepubescent boy, okay, in a bonnet, and I wore it. And I think I had sunglasses on too, if I remember correctly. Um, but when my friend and I would go on a ride, I got called ma'am and miss, okay? And it immediately felt wonderful, okay? And I didn't correct them. And, my friend didn't pick up on it either. But it was the kind of thing that, for me, it was almost like my first outing, you know? And it gave me the ability to be what I think kind of how I am now, um, in a very safe environment, in Walt Disney World. Um, Now, did it really sink in at the time? No, but I felt good about it, and I was saddened at the end of the day, when I had to take off my bonnet and went back to the he mode, he man. No, um, but yeah, that's a story I haven't told anybody. But yeah, it was really kind of neat. It was really kind of neat to be misgendered throughout the day when it was just my friend and I. You know. Nowadays, I wonder if I knew now what I knew then. Now he's straight, but I almost wonder if I had held him, put my arm around him, or I don't know, being silly. But it is kind of a neat story, and when I watched the video today, that triggered that memory that I had kind of forgotten about. And, um, being a lot of other things that kind of got unpacked when I would go, excuse me, to Walt Disney World with my family. And of course, my sister, initially, when we were kind of a nuclear family, my dad, my mom, before their divorce, obviously, and my sister and I. And, just how, I'm not going to say jealousy, but how differently I was treated versus my sister. And family trips were kind of that way. Um, ooh, um, see, that's what I'm talking about. Ooh, excuse me. But I thought about some, so many times, like when I was in elementary school, and we would do something as a family. We would go out. There was a place, I think it was called the Mai Tai, which I know is a drink. But it was a restaurant in Fort Lauderdale, Florida. I may still be there. And it was kind of probably a tourist trap at one time. They have every night they had a live show, and the place was decorated like a Polynesian village. It was definitely a tourist trap. But you could walk around, and it would, the trees. It was a beautiful trail. There was water, waterfalls, fountains, and you know, the whole time I was there, I would look up at the girls doing the dances. Okay, the Polynesian dances, not necessarily like, you know, hula skirt dances, but excuse me, women. And I kept on saying to myself, don't look at them. Like I felt like God was going to switch bodies or something. And I would be them, and I don't know if they'd be me or not, but it kind of was around the time that I was praying to God, please turn me into a girl. Please let me be a girl. Please, please, you know. Um, and so there were a lot of things that, growing up, it was like, I think I repressed it. And tonight, when I watched the video of Walt Disneyland or Disneyland, it really kind of brought a lot of that back. And it reminded me of my funny story, which I wanted to share. But we have a lot of things going on right now with people who, politicians, who are kind of going out of their way to try and make transgender lives, well, our lives hell. And children, particularly, you know, under the guise of protecting the children or whatnot. And, I think back to kind of where I was and how I was brought up. And I think about, a child. Again, I think the last video I made, I talked about the difference in a curve between the way things are and the way things could be. And, it kind of, to be able to be, I don't want to go back, okay? I don't want to be a kid again. I'm happy, I've made it where I am. I don't want to be, people say, oh, I wish I was younger. No, no. Um, but I would hope that, if there is an opportunity in my next life, assuming that I haven't already lived it, I hope that if I am presented with this opportunity again, that I will have cooler parents and I will be in a society that will support me. Um, and there's a part of me that's really sad in that, for myself, obviously, but for these children who could be, socially transitioning, if that's what they want. Um, Not necessarily medically, excuse me, but unless that's what they want, you know what I mean? For me, it was something I hid, I was ashamed of. But in this reality where we are now, in this part of our, 2022, there's that possibility of being, and I only can speak from the transgender woman side of things, but if only I could have said to my mom, you know, I want to be a mommy like you. I don't want to be a daddy. If I could have said to my mom, I want to be like you. Now, in my family, my mom and I are pretty close. Um, in many respects, excuse me, growing up, we would be out as a family and, people would say, oh, you look so much like your mother, he looks so much like you, to my mom. And I took that as like, yeah, because I'm going to be a mommy too, you know? And again, to be, it's amazing to me that the possibility is that a parent might be tuned into that and be open to the idea of counseling and to get that child mental health, counseling, therapy, the mental health care that they need, and maybe the medical health care that they need. If they can, to me, that's just amazing. You know, um, I'm saddened in that what I missed, but I'm happy that maybe someone else doesn't have to go through the hell that I did. Excuse me. Oh, excuse me. Where, wherever I went with my family when I was younger, I was so unhappy because I wasn't, I wanted to be a girl. I wanted to be, you know, Sunday at my grandma's house. I wanted to be, like my sister. I wanted to be in a nice sundress and do my hair. And, my mom would mess with my sister's hair and make her up, do her hair. And, I wanted that closeness with my mom. And, it was like I was just left on my own, you know. You know? Um, Thought about a memory today. Do you know what the Argonauts were? Excuse me. Oh, pardon me. There were these toys, and they were really kind of neat. But for Christmas, I got a set of toys. It was like a whole space city. It's the only thing I can think about it. Micronauts. I'm sorry, Aquanauts. Micronauts. They were called Micronauts. And my dad, the setting was like an erector set, and it had these little tabs. There were 4 pegs on a flexible piece of plastic, and so you could take, a piece of building material and another piece of building material, and then put the 4 pegs, 1, 2, 3, 4, and you could tilt it. You could do different things. Well, then you could build this huge city, right? Okay. Well, my dad went through and broke up all the little pieces of plastic, thinking that he was saving me time, so I could play with it. This is what I like to think. He did it so that I could play with my toys Christmas morning. Well, it turned out that basically it kind of made the whole set garbage. Now I was happy with it. I mean, I was happy to get a toy. Don't misunderstand me. But rather than say, I'm sorry, I thought I was doing something good for you, and we can't do it today because we have to be here, grandma, church, whatever. But in a couple days, I'd like to take you to the toy store and we'll get you another set. Okay? Um, that was never done with me. It was like with my family, it was give me something to do and then just kind of push me away. They didn't interact with me. They didn't, you know what I mean? It's like I've said this before. My dad never played Legos with me. My dad never did a puzzle with me. My dad never played Monopoly with me, never played Payday with me, Stratego, Boardy board game, okay? Not even Mad Libs. My dad, Play-Doh. My dad just did his own thing. And my mom did stuff with my sister. And of course, I wanted to be like my sister. I wanted to play with the dolls and I wanted to build stuff and I wanted a dollhouse and all of these other things that I could not have because that's not what boys did, you know. And I don't know. My childhood was very antiseptic. It was like a clean room. There was no flavor, no color, no nothing. And it was probably hard for them to relate to me as it was for me to relate to them because here I was a girl and they weren't treating me like a girl and they weren't necessarily treating me like a boy either. I don't know. I feel like I was always just kind of the mistake, which of course I was. Unplanned pregnancy. And of course now to be fair, and here's where I'm going to be, to be fair, I mean my parents, their marriage was not happy. And so, probably maybe in some of the things that maybe I would have done stuff like sports or something. By that time, their marriage was kind of falling apart and they were focusing on trying to fix that. And again, you could just kind of push me off by myself. So, I don't know. But anyway, back to the idea of, like, so we talked about Disneyland and everything. But yeah, I kind of thought about when I watched the video, excuse me, it brought back memories of my sister and how much I wanted to be like my sister. I wanted to be a sister to my sister. I wanted to wear tights and the Mary Jane shoes. You know what I mean? Like, there's so many things I wanted to do. And I watched the video tonight and it was like, you could have done this, you could have done this, you could have done that, you could have done that. It's too late to do that, it's too late to do that. And of course, well, what are you going to do? You do the best thing you can do. Obviously, you make lemonade out of your lemons. And, maybe I can capture some of that a little bit. I don't know how. Um, um, I don't know. Food for thought. Anyway, my voice is starting to go. Excuse me. Terrible. So anyway, so that's kind of some thoughts and some memories and told a story I've never told anybody. Um, yeah, it's kind of neat to think about. Um, hmm. When I was really young, I had a thing about my mom this is probably before I was even in school. So this is probably me before kindergarten. And I can remember my mom going to Kmart. And she would take me to Kmart and I would sit in the cart And she would talk to the other women and whatnot, and I was just so, I was like, oh, I'm going to do that someday. And I can remember the racks, the clothes racks, the fabric was so soft. I guess it was like a 70s, um, not cotton, but it was like a rayon. I don't know. And just all the things that I thought I was going to do. And then the realization that no, I wasn't. And that's kind of a dark down, you know what I mean? And I think that's something that maybe I want to see if there's something I can do to help the next generation. Woo, to not have that experience. And maybe it's the kind of thing of just talking. Maybe talking and, talking to a parent of a transgender child. They might want to know what my experiences were, and so they can help their child fulfill their potential, maybe. I don't know. Some food for thought. All right, well, that's it. Till next time, I wish you the best of luck in becoming your authentic self. I hope you have a wonderful Friday. And it's officially fall 2022. Bye bye, everybody.